This has nothing to do with politics. Politics has taken over a religious topic, namely life, backed up by science, because every scientist, and I don't care what any pro-abortionist says, they'll all say, oh, but science says that life doesn't begin at conception. That is, again, the ignorance that occurs when you are a pro-abortion person. You just start denying science. Welcome to the Father Leo Show, where I'm dishing out faith, culture, and commentary. And this week, we're going to be talking all about the March for Life, which happens every year. We're going to get right into it. But first, I want to say thank you not only for watching, but for being a part of this Father Leo Show movement, so to speak. And thank you for the Patreon supporters as well. And if you haven't done so, please click subscribe, share this, leave your comments, and please visit us on patreon.com/The Father Leo Show, where you're going to get some more perks and information, and as well as a lot of other things that only members of Patreon will receive. So let's jump into our conversation dedicated to Respect Life Month, and particularly the March for Life, and my message regarding faith. This year, 2024, the March for Life is going to actually begin on Friday, January 19th. The march begins basically at 1 a.m., but there are a lot of events that happen, and it's all going to be covered by EWTN. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of stay connected to the church's efforts when it comes to the March for Life. What I want to do, though, in this faith segment is just review some basics. And I know that this might sound repetitive, but perhaps we might need to get some information as to where we can find these things. So it really begins with Catechism entries 2270 and onward. And from 2270, we talk about the gift and the dignity of human life and how it must be respected and protected absolutely. And then we talk about how in 2271, that since the first century, the church has always affirmed the moral evil of every procured abortion. We get that simply because Mary could have had an abortion. Her cousin Elizabeth could have had an abortion. Then there would be no Jesus. There would be no John the Baptist. And a lot of people have issues with the church making such declarations, but they're saying it and they're alive. And so all we're trying to do in the church's teachings from the Catechism is remind everybody that it is not only a privilege to advocate for life, it is a great responsibility. And as such, we're going to get it from all types of people outside the church. And there are even a lot of people inside the church who don't really fully understand that that abortion and even assisting someone in an abortion, whether it be paying for it, encouraging it, driving people there, or even supporting Planned Parenthood, for example. If that is in your kind of donation wheelhouse, you are literally cooperating with evil. And that actually creates, in a sense, a type of punishment on your soul that it could actually lead to an excommunication. To support abortion, to support politicians who, if you vote for them because they are pro-abortion, not pro-choice, we're going to get into that in a moment, but pro-abortion, then you are literally participating in the murder of one of the most innocent among us, the innocent unborn child. It is murder. As such, it is a mortal sin, and it leads to an excommunication. Now, gratefully, we do have opportunities for people who have had an abortion, who have in the past supported an abortion, to seek reconciliation. At one point, this was a forgiveness reserved only to the bishops, but now bishops have given priests kind of the permission to offer forgiveness through the sacrament of reconciliation so that people can get back into the graces of the church and they can be forgiven for the murder that they have committed or the murder that they cooperated and supported. This is serious stuff. And the reason why I say we cannot call any politician, I don't care if they claim to identify as Catholic. If they claim to be Catholic and yet support a woman's right to have an abortion and access to an abortion, they are murderous in their intentions and murderous in their words. And they are creating havoc and chaos for Catholics. We got to develop the backbone to say it, that if you support abortion or candidates who advocate for abortion, then you are participating with a moral evil and you are culpable. You are going to have to face the just judge. And do you think that Jesus is going to say from heaven, oh, that's okay, I knew that you were just simply supporting women's rights? Because a woman doesn't have a right to kill an unborn baby. They just don't. They have a right to choose, which means that they could have made the choices before getting pregnant. We don't support contraception, but if somebody wants to engage in sexual activity, contraception is free. You can get it anywhere. In fact, your insurance, sadly, supports that. But the contraception mentality is unfortunately connected to the abortion mill industry, because from there you actually see that your sexual experiences are more important and more valuable than the life that can come from that child. You are not a pro-choicer. You are a pro-murderer. And we have to call it for what it is. Besides, if you look at the word choice, it implies a decision. People should be free to choose. But if you take a look at the word decision, it comes from the Latin words decidere, and the verb cidere is the infinitive of to kill. So if you commit a homocidere, you commit homicide. You commit the killing of homo, man. You commit a suicidere, you kill, cidere, sui, meaning self. And a decidere is that serious. Do y'all remember when Congress used to work? They used to have a phrase, and it was kill the bill. And it was basically make a decision. And unfortunately, the decisions that our government, which is supposed to uphold the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not the other way around. People think that the pursuit of happiness means that you can have unprotected sex without any repercussions or have any responsibilities. I'm sorry. That's not the order that the rights are given to us. It's the rights of life, liberty, because you are free to choose, and the pursuit of happiness. And what's interesting is that the mentality of the world, and we're going to get into it in just a moment, is that they now see that a child is no longer a reason to rejoice. It's just a burden. And so let's not mince words. The reality is the protection and the dignity of human life must be upheld. And there are serious moral and spiritual punishments, including the potential of eternal fires of hell if one is not reconciled, won't humble themselves and say, I used to support abortion, please forgive me. And then you can go to confession and trust that the church is not only a defender of life, but also a defender of mercy. But we have to be willing to accept it. And why is this such a big deal? Well, because God is life. He is pure existence. And as such, if we do not uphold the preeminent dignity of human life, then you're going to see what our world has become. You have contraception, which is the mentality that leads to abortion, and the rights, quote unquote, to kill an unborn child has led to a whole string of destruction in the lives of people who are already born, to the point where the world would even say you can even kill a child. If a child is delivered from a failed abortion, you can just kill that child. That is blatant murder. And now people couldn't care less if you just killed someone else because of either their skin color, their citizenship status, or as some terrorists who claim to believe in God, but they'll kill somebody else because they're not of their religion. And I know people say, oh, but you Catholics are just as hateful. No, we're not. That's hardly the case. The Catholic Church teaches that if you harm anyone else's life, you can not only suffer the pains of eternal hell if you don't ask forgiveness, you're kind of, in a sense, excommunicated from the church's teachings. I mean, this is how serious this is. I mean, listen to Canon 2275. One must hold as licit procedures carried out on the human embryo with respect to the dignity of human life, in the integrity of the embryo, and do not involve disproportionate risks for it, but are directed towards its healing, the improvement of its condition or health, or its individual survival. That's our responsibility. Even an embryo that was kind of conceived in IVF, in vitro fertilization. First of all, we are also against surrogacy for the sake of making a baby as kind of like a commerce. It's the strangest thing to me that the world wants to promote killing unborn babies because women don't want them. But at the same time, they want to promote in vitro fertilization because they want women to have babies if they can't have a baby. Do you see the absolute hypocrisy here? Now, where do we get this? Where do we get this? Well, it's clear. We get our teachings on this from science. No, from God. God is the ultimate author, but God is also the founder of science. And what I do is just kind of show you how the pro-life movement, please don't call us anti-abortion. We're definitely anti-abortion, but we are more than anything pro-life. We are just anti-murder. We're anti-hatred on the human dignity of life. We're anti-people who are anti the dignity of life, that is. But I just want to just show you how powerful science can prove that the Catholic Church is right when it comes to the pro-life movement. Check this out.
This is an incredible video showing stages of embryo development that are almost never seen. The embryo starts off at fertilization on day 1, and then through day 3 divides up to 6 to 10 cells. But then between day 3 and 5, it becomes the blastocyst, where it becomes hundreds of cells, and then folds on itself to make the spinal cord, the neural cord, and also the gut area.
Basically, if you continue that video, you're going to see how the embryo, the blastate, folds on itself, and then it kind of develops this beating heart. And then from there, you see what people can actually detect in a sonogram. That's the beauty of life. And we don't take it seriously. And the Catholic Church has always been, for many years, the sole defender of human life and the greatest enemy towards those who wanted to promote abortion, including the whole Roe versus Wade debacle, one of the worst Supreme Court decisions ever made. I mean, any legal scholar, not some hack political junkie that we oftentimes see on TV, but any legal scholar can look at that law and say, it was a bad law. It's just a bad law. That's why I'm so grateful it was overturned. And the Catholic Church has always been at the forefront of marching for life. And we always did it kind of as close to the anniversary date, a Friday in January, as close to the anniversary date of the original Roe versus Wade, which has now been, thank you God, has been overturned. And I always wanted to remind people, as I've led many groups to the March for Life, I would tell them that that is, in a sense, a continuation of the March for Life that Jesus started in Calvary, that Mary started when her and Joseph went from Nazareth to Bethlehem. You see, there's always been a progression, a movement to always bring life into this world. And I firmly believe that if people sincerely march in this March for Life, that they are walking on the right path to heaven. So, those are my words and my encouragement. Please make sure you review the Canons 22, 2270 and following, because it'll give you a better understanding of where the church is when it comes to not only defining what is life, but how we need to protect it at all costs, and what are the punishments when people act contrary to the dignity of human life. It is serious and it's worth understanding. So let's now jump into what the world says about the pro-life movement and abortion, in my words regarding culture and abortion. There is no doubt that the world was made good. And the first things that God created was light, and then the separation of land and ocean. And the ocean and land was fruitful and it multiplied. In other words, God created life. That's how the world is supposed to see life. But unfortunately, our world has been infected and plagued by sin, which always leads to death. And as such, the United States has become one of the leading pro-abortionist countries. It is the leader in all killing of children. I mean, we're not even a communist country like China, for example, is communist. At one point, they would just kill girls because they valued boys more, and they would actually limit the number of babies. They would literally force abortions because they wanted to keep, the government wanted to keep control of the population. Now China is suffering because they don't have enough people. There are countries that don't have enough people to kind of to manage their world, their economics, their whole living situation. Let's just say it's a mess. The world, when it comes to understanding life, is disastrous because people think that they are so smart, and as such, they are smarter than God. And it really is disgusting to know that 16 states now ban, thankfully, now ban abortion at conception or after 6 weeks. So there are bans on abortion up to a certain date. People oftentimes use this attitude of rape. This is one of the biggest things that people talk about is, what about rape? Because technically, if we can help people understand that abortion is murder, if they can just get it to that point where they realize that abortion is murder, then they have to kind of either make a decision. Is it allowable or not allowable? And what I oftentimes hear is the slippery slope of abortion is okay for cases of rape and incest. Well, let's listen to what one very wise person said in response to a congressional hearing on this very topic.
Is this bill, if it becomes law, has no rape exception. So under this bill, if a 13-year-old girl, let's say, was raped by a serial rapist, broke into her house, or maybe more likely, raped by a family member, which occurs frequently, unfortunately, this bill would require this 13-year-old to carry this felon's fetus to term, regardless of any emotional or psychological damage or trauma that may be inflicted upon this 13-year-old girl to deliver this felon's fetus. Is that right?
First of all, I want to just pause it right there. This is an appeal to an emotion, and it is appeal to an emotion of someone who's already been seriously affected by rape. If you notice that there was nothing said about protecting women, it's so interesting that the contraceptive mentality and the abortion mentality actually encourages rape. Because guess what? You can get someone pregnant and just get them to have an abortion, and there's no sign of your sin whatsoever. And we would think that abortion would somehow empower women. No, it actually weakens them. And sadly, in this question is a presumption that nothing is going to actually happen to that rapist. It's very true, because you heard this man, first of all, his voice. I don't know if I could actually listen to him too much longer. God bless him for it. But he basically put all the pressure on the girl when there really should be a moral responsibility on the part of man. Now, if man rapes a girl, he should have followed up and said, and by the way, that man should be put in prison for a very, very long time. But he didn't, because it's all directed towards the emotional argument that if someone is raped and if they conceive a child, that it will be such a terrible burden, a reminder of that rape in perpetuity. Every time this woman sees this child born from a rape situation, that this will be a constant reminder of the pain that she went through. That could be the case, but still, he should have qualified his statements and say, and by the way, if that ever happens, we will have every law to prosecute that rapist and put that rapist in jail for a very, very long time. But listen to what this woman says, because it's spot on.
Rape is a difficult issue, and it emotionally scars the individual, all or in part, for the rest of their life, just as child abuse does. But if a baby is created, it is a human life. And whether that mother ends that pregnancy or not, the scars will not go away. Period. It is a shame that it happens, but there's an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is, to make a determination about what she's going to do to help that life be a productive human being. She can choose to raise the child. She can choose to give that child to a loving family member or to give it to someone else. And that child can grow up and be something magnificent, a wonderful family person, cure cancer, etc. This is not about keeping abortion alive. This is about keeping the mother alive. And just because you have emotional scars doesn't give you the right to take the life.
Exactly. And I love the fact that she didn't mince words, because the person who was asking the question basically used the term fetus. And please know that the word in Latin fetus means simply small person. And just because someone has been harmed in any way gives them no right to harm someone else. But this kind of academic approach, which is so strangely, there's no academics that support the pro-abortion mentality. I mean, it's pure emotion, but their emotion is based off of guilt, shame, victimhood. It's almost as if being pregnant these days is like a curse for many people, unless of course you're like the royal family and you have a baby and then that baby is like celebrated. Come on. You can see how there's an inconsistency, because the pro-abortion movement is the most illogical. I mean, it really is so without intellectual thought. And they've created true hypocrites. Like this man who was asking the question is hypocritical, trying to call the unborn child a fetus. Fine, learn some Latin, and you'll see that we call it a baby. When the baby is valued, we call it a baby. When it's not valued, we call it a cluster of cells, a fetus. That is the example of illogical hypocrisy and ultimately dumbing down humanity. So abortion is not only murderous, it makes people dumber, really. If you believe in it, you just become less intelligent. And I will be happy to debate that with anyone who supports abortion. You just lose your logic. Let me prove it to you. Check out this person who thinks that they are so smart that somehow they can stop someone else's free speech. Check this out.
God loves you. God loves you, man. It is the love of God of why you're angry. And why you mad?
Yeah, I'm just okay with that. Yeah.
How you doing, young lady?
And I'm gonna tell you something else. Can I tell you something else? I had an abortion 2 years ago, and I don't regret it at all. They yanked the fetus out of my uterus. They yanked the fetus out of my uterus, and I'm so happy.
Okay.
I'm so grateful.
Okay.
And I'm a professor at this university.
Okay.
And I make more money than you.
Okay.
And what else?
What's your name?
That's none of your business.
I mean, we're being cordial here. You here? Got my mic. We're being cordial, right?
Yeah, we're being cordial.
We're being cordial. So, my name is Ricky Castor.
I don't
Nice to
care.
meet you. Nice to meet you. I mean, nice to meet you. Is that you just came up here to tell us your business without giving us your name?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll pray for you. Okay. We'll pray the Lord save you.
Thank you.
Okay. No problem. I wish I knew your name so we can know where to pray. Well, either way, you're a soul. Either way,
And
you're a soul.
kind of an asshole.
What makes me that?
You kind of ruined everybody's lunch. They're like, oh, you
Sorry.
took the cord out?
Yeah, I took the cord out. Yeah, because
Okay.
you won't give me my mic back. Please,
Okay.
please give me my mic back, please. Please, young lady. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, you're not stronger than me. All right. God bless you.
God bless
Don't-
you.
Hey, officer! This young lady she's trying to rip my stuff up.
Oh, I'm assaulting her.
She's taking his stuff.
Come here.
I have it on video.
Yeah.
I'm assaulting him.
Yes.
Like you're very
I'm
angry about your
assaulting
abortion.
him.
Yeah.
And you're
Let
very
go of my
angry
stuff.
about your
Okay,
Come
if
on.
I get arrested right now, I would
Why are
literally
you
laugh
touching
out
his equipment
loud.
like that?
Hi. No, it's not.
Okay, you should probably let him have the stomach
Let it
test.
go.
I do.
Are you gonna ask Michael?
Would you please let it go?
Can I?
Am I assaulting
Can,
him?
So you need to let go right now or you're under arrest.
Am I
Walk away
assaulting
right
by
now.
holding- I already said I was
So
going to let it
it's
go.
not-
I
walk
have
away
a
now.
question for you, Boardman. Mr. Boardman,
Let's walk
am I
away.
assaulting him by holding this cord?
You
can I get my stuff? Can I get my stuff, ma'am?
Now's your chance.
Boardman,
We'll
can I
go talk,
answer
but we're
your
gonna go over here.
question? Can I ask a question? Of course.
Go ahead.
Am
But
I
let go right
assaulting
now.
him? Is this assault?
Let go right now.
Yes or no?
Let go right now.
Yes, no. Yes or no?
You're under arrest. Put your hands behind you.
I mean, I'm so sorry for having joy. I don't know if it's joy. I think it's the consolation of justice that this professor, how arrogant that I make more money than you. And just, did you see that kind of writhing, like she was receiving pleasure of talking about the fetus coming out of her womb? I'm sorry. It makes you not only illogical, but emotionally unstable. This is what's teaching your children. Watch it, parents, because this kind of crazy manic ridiculosity is brainwashing your children thinking that abortion is good for women. It is horrible for women. This woman right here, in her pure arrogance and vile attitude, first of all, I wanted to say that since she was a professor, she had rights and that she made more money than this street preacher. Thank God for him. And that she is somehow above the law. And that kind of impetuous childishness in talking to the police officer, you can again hear, and this is my contention, the abortion mentality makes you stupid. It really does. It makes you emotionally unstable. It makes you arrogant. It makes you weird. I mean, I want you to just pay attention to how the world approaches the issues of life. And those who are truly strongly pro-life, they're generally sane, they're logical, they're healthy. They might be a little intense because guess what? Life is worth being intensely fighting for. And yeah, there are going to be some people who kind of are over the top, but for the most part, that doesn't represent the pro-life movement. It represents, unfortunately, the exact extreme, and I would call that this person part of the extreme, but there's way many people in the extremes of the pro-abortion movement, and they all act like this. They all talk with this arrogance, this superiority, that they're above the law, and that their emotions are more important than anyone else. But then there's probably the majority of people who are somewhere in the middle, and they're like, I just don't want to get into it because it's just not like, it's too political. First of all, it's not politics. This has nothing to do with politics. Politics has taken over a religious topic, namely life, backed up by science, because every scientist, and I don't care what any pro-abortionist says, they'll all say, oh, but science says that life doesn't begin at conception. That is, again, the ignorance that occurs when you are a pro-abortion person. You just start denying science. And so when we look at this kind of dichotomy, are you pro-abortion or are you truly pro-life? I reject anyone who wants to call me anti-abortion, but that's fine. I am ultimately first and foremost pro-life. As such, I am anti-abortion. I am anti-death penalty. I am anti-murder. I am anti-war. I mean, I know that some things like war is necessary, but maybe we'll have to have another discussion on that. But I am anything that will take the life of someone else. You have no right to do it. Whereas the pro-abortion industry are not pro-choice. They want to take women's choice away by not teaching morals. They're not teaching how to abstain. They're not teaching women that you can actually have dignity. Even if you're raped, you can still have dignity exercised by bringing life into this world. You become the crazy lady that I am so glad got arrested. And again, I don't take joy in other people's sufferings, but you can tell that this is a woman who's suffering very much on the inside. And so that's my commentary on how the world and culture approaches this very sensitive topic. And now let's jump into my commentary and some updates. The pro-life march is really an incredible opportunity. Hundreds and thousands of people across the country converge on the United States Capitol. And what I want to just simply comment on is that unlike other protests that happen in Washington, this is truly an incredible experience. I've talked to a few police officers and they say they don't mind working this particular protest at all because they don't have anything to do. They just sit there and they watch a bunch of young people just chant, pro-life slogans. I mean, it's a joyful experience, and you're going to see that the majority of people who come are young people. And guess what? All walks of life come. If you've never been to a March for Life, I encourage you to go. They also have local statewide March for Lives as well. And those are beautiful experiences. But when you do this national March for Life, there's a ton of activities all around it. And we're actually going to be a part of it as well. We're going to actually be at the Catholic University of America with my food truck. So if you are in the area on Thursday and on Friday, stop by the National Shrine of the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception of Washington, D.C. We'll be there in the afternoon and for some of the evening on Thursday, as well as in the morning on Friday for the March for Life. It's a great thing to be a part of something so powerful. And the other thing about this march, other than the other ones that happen on the Capitol, that is that it's not only joyful and everyone's happy, but this actually was told to me by one of the sanitation workers. They say, you leave this place cleaner than when we found it. Cleaner and more productive, because guess what? While we might close traffic, all right, it's only for a couple hours, we go into the shops, we go into the restaurants, and we are hungry people. Food and life go hand in hand. And then the only thing that people have to clean up are the signs, but you're going to watch that. They don't litter. They don't just throw it on the street. They actually put them all together so that the Knights of Columbus can pick up all of the signs and dispose of them appropriately. Yes, we leave DC clean because this is what it means to be pro-life. From the moment you were conceived in the mother's womb until God calls you home, there is a dignity that happens when we approach everything with the dignity of human life. So, as to follow up, once again, please show up at the March for Life. at the national level. And if you can't make it there, please do what you can to participate at the state level. We're also going to do a little reflection at the end of this month, at the end of January, which is dedicated to the pro-life cause. We're going to take some videos and some interviews and some montages so you can see what I'm talking about and hopefully get you excited for the gift of life. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And remember that our food truck will be at the Catholic University of America, right in front of the shrine in DC. We're going to be there on Thursday as well as on Friday. And if you're around, I'd love to even meet you as well. So it's just going to be a great time to celebrate the gift of life, because that is what God gives to us and gives it to us in abundance. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please share this with others. Like, subscribe, please leave your comments. And especially for those Patreon supporters, if you haven't done so yet, please consider doing so. It's the way that we keep this whole operation and this whole movement continuing to spread the good news and to continue to dish out faith, culture, and commentary. God bless you, and stay hungry for God.